Hey everybody, this is Joe. I'm here in Houston. I'm in Zone 9A and I am going to show you my front yard garden. I have a sort of a mixed border up here in the front that I am trying to create an English garden style or cottage garden style garden with native plants. Now, it is a hot mess out here. It has been in the hundreds this week, and we're hoping that this will be a break in the heat this weekend. And so I thought I would show you a lot of the native plants that are doing well, and also some non-natives that are doing a heck of a job. The first one is this gomphrena. Now there are several types. I've only been growing gomphrena for a couple of years, and so there are a couple of different kinds, different colors, different shapes. I'm really liking this raspberry red, sort of raspberry pink, and it has got little skinny fuzzy leaves. But right next to it, and it was a volunteer, I think I sort of threw seeds out here randomly. This, I started in a little plug, very organized, and ended up putting it out here, and it has finally just gone crazy. It has got completely different leaves. They're sort of soft and furry. You can see wide variety difference. And so I really have not grown this particular one. I can't remember the name of the seed I bought, but I think that's a single plant. That might be two tucked together, but I'm so thrilled with gomphrena. It's just incredible. And I haven't found anything that does this well in the summer heat. This is the winter chicken dinner. So beautiful. I've got some native things. Not a lot is blooming over here on the walkway. Everything's kind of getting a second wind here. Look, this is a blue mist flower. It doesn't look very blue, I'm afraid, on the video. I've just trimmed it back. And then we've got a little Salvia coccinea. This is either coral nymph or some kind of variety, sort of hybrid of coral nymph, because it's sort of a hotter pink. And that's what this is. Look at this, just like a hedge. And I just threw the seeds out here, and they've just done their deal. A lot of this has just been just direct sowing. The same with these Cleome, which, they look good, but I kind of feel like they look good at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then they just need a second wind, because it's so hot. They are all going to seed, you can see, and I'm just letting it, I'm letting it drop wherever it wants to, in the hopes that I have it next year as well. And you can see it looks pretty great back there. Nice little pom-poms, you can see them from the street. Those all ended up being sort of pink and white, and then these over here, which look really nice too, ended up just being a clear white. And they seem to hold up in the heat a little better than the pink ones. I've got Texas Rock Rose here, which is doing really well. Of course, once again I'm filming and they've already closed up for the day. This is a native here, the Rock Rose. And then this little thing I've gotten tucked in here, and I've just thrown seeds everywhere. This is Jewels of Opar. And it's this bright green, sort of chartreuse green leaf, and it's got these sweet little pink flowers, which are all sort of closed up apparently. And then, goodness gracious, look, this is one tiny seed pod, and look how many seeds come in that one little seed pod. And so I just keep dropping them in, and they keep popping up everywhere. But you can see how many seed pods are in each little stalk. And the thing I think is so interesting about this plant is that you can have ripe seed heads like this one on the same plant as flowers, and then also 2 new little buds. So even if it's going to seed, you're still always getting little new pink flowers on the same stalk. And I feel like a lot of plants don't really do that. And I really like that. Now I'm gonna climb through here and show you. This is a lot of native plants in here. And it's looking rough, but it still has that fluffy, overflowing, jam-packed look to it that I really like. And there's very few weeds in here. I was sort of messing around in here earlier today, and there are just very few weeds. My goodness, there is a noisy bird up there. Heavens to Betsy. Goodness. All right, here's one of my non-natives that is fantastic. This is a big penta. I really love this, and it's humongous. And then again, I've got the Texas rock rose, which is a native. This is a yarrow, which is native, and you know, I thought it was going to bloom all year, and it really hasn't. It bloomed in the spring, and that's it. I've got some purple coneflower. These are really tall and paler. They're pretty sun washed. And so I'm wondering if this is a native variety. And that I know this bright pink on a smaller one is the powwow wildberry. That has been fantastic. And then mixed in here, this is a salvia. That is a salvia farinacea. That's a native plant. And it's gotten bigger. I'm encouraging it. I really want a big clump of it here. And so I'm encouraging it. And if you're in Houston, I would encourage you to still go out to HEB, which is, if you're not from Houston, that's a Texas grocery store. And, you know, look around. I found some salvia farinacea for sale for like $4 for a gallon pot just a couple weeks ago, and it looked terrible. And I have it on my backyard, on my back porch, and I'm nursing it along until it cools off. But gee, for $4 a gallon pot, you can't beat that. I've got wonderful little Gora, which, you know, it just has bloomed all summer. Let's see if I can find you a fresh looking flower. They're all kind of pooped out for the day, kind of dried up a bit. Oh, thank you. Hey, how's it going? I've got Gomphrena that just popped up, self-sowed. And then this is a third variety. This was different than the other two I've just shown you. This one, I think I do know the name. This variety is called Fireworks maybe. And I have a lot of that in the backyard as well. And that just, that was a volunteer here. And then, but this Gora, my goodness, I mean, it's huge. And it has looked like this for months and months and months. And I love it. I had to prop it up. Once it gets going, you know, it was sort of slow, probably a year to really get going, but you can see that, I had to prop it up. It needs room. It needs space. And I just pulled some things today out from the back to give this some more room. I really want to focus on the natives. So this being native, the Texas rock rose being native, the salvia farinacea being native. This is a dwarf Barbados cherry, which is just greenery right now, this time of year. But that's what I want in here. And so I was pulling out things that were just taking up a lot of space. Another native down here that's looking so pretty is the, this is a, what's it called? Aquatic milkweed. And it's just starting to bloom again. Look at its sweet little flowers there. And then I've got my volunteer zinnias, of course, which look great. They're so floppy, but I'm happy for them to flop all over the grass. That's fine, and give us some color from the street. This is a dwarf salvia leucantha, which, you know, it's holding its own. I don't think it's the most fantastic plant. I've had it I was happy with the flowers. I've given it a year. We'll see if it blooms again in the fall. It bloomed this spring, but I don't think it's particularly pretty. it might be a mid-border for me in front of the front, because I wanted that gray-green, but I don't think it's particularly beautiful. Here's some more of the blue mist flower blooming for you. And that is a pretty parasols coneflower. I've got a pink muley grass growing here. And then here is a pink gora. Again, it's sort of gotten pretty toasted just during the day today. It was so brutal. But it's a sweet little pink. And hopefully, you know, this is year 1. It's pretty big. Hopefully, year 2, it'll get that big and it will just fill this whole space. I've pretty much given up on the grasses looking good. I finally pulled one out. That one's getting covered over by this amazing and enormous porterweed. It does better when it rains for me. I'm just getting a couple of flowers. They just sort of move up and you just get an inch or two of flowers. But when it rains a lot, it's an amazing sight. And they got really big. This is originally 3 gallon pots here. So you can see you probably only need one if you don't have an enormous space. I probably have too much here. And then sort of repeating through, here's a little jewel of opar that's got an open flower, sort of, right there. So more jewels of opar, which is native to most of the United States, actually, lower 48. And then here's a nice little bee on some more aquatic milkweed. And then here's some more Salvia coccinea, which may or may not be coral nymph. And it's sort of closed up for the evening. Another pink gora back here. This is a full-size Mexican bush sage, Salvia leucantha. And so, and then another little thing in here that's kind of fun. And I've got a few like little volunteer zinnias and things in there, which is always great. And then this is a loosestrife. This is Texas native. And I keep getting some new little pinky purple flowers off of that. And it's sort of weedy looking, but I've been pretty happy with it. And it has bloomed fairly well. Just off and on, just little dainty flowers. But it's nice to have another native plant. Then I've got some Mystic Spire Salvia, which is the best. That's the best one, I'm just saying. It's the best one. And I really had to cut that down. You can see I've had to cut it back midsummer, but it's already coming up with new. And I'll leave these. See how that has a little hollow space in the middle of that stem? So I will leave that for little creatures this winter to overwinter in. Another big old penta, really nice. And then back in the back, I've got a native oak leaf hydrangea, and then some native ferns back there. And then this big bopper, the incredible Jane Magnolia, which is so great in the spring. And then I've got a crepe myrtle that's looking probably better than it has in a while. This was here when we moved in. I'm not a giant fan of crepe myrtles, and this one has never been that gorgeous. So it's looking okay. And then in this massive pot, I've got some Cape Plumbago that always looks good in Houston. Doesn't mind the heat. A nice pale blue. This is my beautiful sort of chartreuse-leaved, that is a sweet potato vine that my sweet neighbor gave me. I used to have it a long time ago, and it sort of died out, and she put some in here for me, and for that I'm very grateful. This is a desert willow, native to Texas. It doesn't like a lot of water, hence the name desert in it, so which is why I put it in a pot so I can kind of control how much water it gets. The rose here has just quit. It's just quit blooming. It's like, I'll see you in the fall. But it still looks pretty nice. This is Mutabilis, and it's a good looking bush as well. This is another Jane magnolia, and you can see next year's blooms. There are little buds, little fuzzy, furry little buds, little velvety, are all ready for next spring. Then you can see how much I don't want to be in the heat. Look at the pepper situation. This is me thinking it's too hot to go outside and even cut peppers off that I grew, that I planted on purpose. And so a friend of mine is going to get the bounty of these because she's a cook. I'm not really a cook. I'm a grower. I'm not really a cooker. It's just a little bit out of hand. This is what happens when it's too hot to go outside, is that your peppers get out of hand. And then this beautiful specimen, that is a native wax myrtle. It's been in the ground for a year, maybe, year and a half. And my goodness, it just looks incredible. Now, it did surprisingly tip over in the hurricane, but we were able to prop it back up, and it just went on chugging. It doesn't seem to be bothered by it at all, and in fact has tons and tons of fresh new growth on it. And then tucked in next to it is a senna plant, which I grow for the yellow and orange sulfur butterflies. That's their host plant. And man, oh man, they have the coolest caterpillars. And so, Google it. Google, orange sulfur butterfly caterpillar, and you will be amazed. They're the neatest looking things. I have yet to see one here, but it's here waiting for them if they want it. And then I'm not seeing any this year, and I don't know why, because last year we had millions of tiny berries on here that for birds, and it doesn't seem to have really set any fruit this year. But that's why we planted it, was to feed the birds. Here's another magnolia here, and these magnolias, they look rough. By this time of year, they look rough. But in the fall or in the winter, they'll lose all their leaves, and you'll just be left with nice stems and little fuzzy, furry little buds for next year. And so it's kind of a neat looking plant in the winter to me, to just have these little fuzz balls at the end. Well, one of the things that I've read about and heard about is using having a borrowed landscape, right? So we lost our tree up front here, and but next door, look at that live oak, y'all. Isn't that the most amazing live oak? And we just get to see it, and it's like the benefit of actually losing this tree is getting to see their tree, if I've got to find a benefit. And what a gift to get to see that right outside my window. We have our own live oak. This one we think is probably about 100 years old. The house is almost 100 years old. And so I'm guessing that's how old that live oak is. But goodness, look at that. So for our neighbors, Annette, who I'm grateful for planting a little vine in my pot for me while I was out of town, and for getting to look at their beautiful yard and their beautiful tree, I am very grateful. Well, I hope you guys have a great week. I hope that it cools off wherever you are, and that you get to play outside. That's the thing that makes us happy, isn't it? Us gardeners. We gardeners. Y'all take care now. Bye-bye.